All right, everybody. 9 o'clock. It's the Crack House Podcast. I just got one thing to say. If I can change, you could change. We could change. What's going on? It's World War III, everybody. Uh, Chris just played the Russian national anthem. They're invading the Ukraine as we speak. I'm locked up in a bunker here in Kiev. Hearing the bombs go off. It's pretty crazy. What's up, dude?
What's going on?
No, it's pretty crazy, man. World War III. Oh, I can't hear you, man.
How about now?
Ah, we got Chris back.
Sorry
It
about
must
the
have been all
technical.
the mortar shells going off.
Mortar shells, Putin, Ukraine is weak. Crazy
Ukraine,
shit.
man. They're about to get it looks like a real life version of Red Dawn is happening right now. I wonder if a bunch of like teenage kids are gonna band
Do
together and
do we
be
make
rebel
jokes
group.
about it? But
The
like,
Wolverine. What is a Wolverine?
what is this
It is like a
Wolverine?
fierce badger.
Dude, it's pretty insane, man. Like, for the folks that are under the age of 50, even the age of like 40, 35 and stuff. When me and Mike grew up, I hate saying that shit. It makes you feel like a million years old, but the reality is, when we grew up, you had the Cold War going on. Yeah, we make fun of this Rocky, and the whole thing, the montage I just played, the, little Russian national anthem thing. But the reality is, when we grew up, we were in fear. Our parents grew up with, in the aftermath of World War II. We grew up during the Cold War. And, at some point, I don't know if you remember, but as kids, I can remember like doing like little drills where you went underneath the desk and shit, right? And the big
I
baddie
never did
back
that.
then,
I don't remember doing that.
in a Mac, we did it. I remember in the first or second, third grade, I don't know, maybe a big pad and then remember it, but I remember doing fire drills, where we'd go underneath the desk and stuff.
Well, I mean,
And
some
that
old
kind of went by the
yeah.
wayside.
If you still see like old buildings, it has bomb fallout shelter written on it,
Right.
especially in like
Right.
Astoria or like any place that just has a building that's over probably 50, 60 years old. It has that. And the crazy thing is, man, they thought what was going to save you from a a blast was just going under a desk.
It was pretty wild times, but I
Yeah.
bring it up now because like, back then it was a real thing. We talk about Red Dawn, Mike's making jokes about Red Dawn and shit, and that was a huge movie back in the 80s where basically Russia invited us, and there's a bunch of kids out west, led by Patrick Swayze, kind of led a rebellion and
R.I.P. Sways.
the second American Revolution happened, right? And America fought back against the communist invaders. So, you know, I thought with the end of the, we talked about this last episode with, with the fall of the Berlin Wall and the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, which is really what this whole thing is about, at least on a political level. Because from what I gather, I think this has been going on for about 8, 9 years. The last time this went down was in 2014, where they annexed this little part of eastern Ukraine called Crimea under, when Obama was president. And, make a long story short, and tying into what I was saying just a moment ago, I kind of figured we were past this shit. Nobody really ever kind of thought that you'd be potentially have a situation where you'd have a nuclear war or, in some cases, maybe World War III. Because really, what it comes down to is this guy seems like he wants to reassemble the Soviet Union, which Ukraine's a big part of. I think, secondly, he senses a lot of weakness in the current administration. I think he senses also that the energy and gas prices are really we're really tied to these
Yeah,
guys. In terms,
that's my big problem with this is how much is gas going to be? I think
it's gonna be
that's the
four
big
dollars. It's
problem.
gonna be $4 or better, man. And for the folks out there that want to point fingers at the previous guy, it's on this guy, and it really comes down to, look, we've had conversations with Big Pat on Facebook about it. You know, they've made a decision towards moving towards EV and that climate change is going to end the world in 10, 15 years if we don't drastically improve stuff. And the reality of it is, by doing that, they shut down domestic pipelines that kind of set in motion where gas prices are climbing steadily. Now you get this shit going on. And they still, the problem with this whole thing is even if you subscribe to it, which I don't, but
Mhm.
let's say you do, you know, teach his own. the reality of it is the rest of the world ain't doing what we're doing, Mike. You got China still doing things as usual. You got Russia still doing things as usual. At the
Well,
crux of the thing,
China just like cleaned up their environment for the Olympics. Like there were all
yeah,
these articles like how did they get the air so clean over there for the Olympics? When it's
right,
like they're like the biggest polluter in the world.
right. They got
Anyway,
billions of people, right, and they
but I
cleaned it up
mean,
for 2 weeks, right?
listen, they started
But
invading. We'll see where this goes in the next couple of weeks. There's all these sanctions. We're going to pay a lot for gas, and that's
I
going to
think
be
that's really what
that,
it comes
man.
down to. What it comes down to is like he's got to spy the balls because we are, once again contingent on foreign oil. They're making an effort to, clamp down on domestic pipelines and fracking and all that bullshit. And look, at the end of the day, I joked about it last week. I think part of it also is that Putin probably assessed the situation with our current, leader, and I don't think he was too impressed. I don't really think, I'm not touting Trump's horn or the guy, even Obama for that matter. I just think that think he could. I think he got the sense that he could get away with this. And the reality of it is those sanctions will hurt Russia. They'll hurt them economically, but it still ain't going to stop them. They're going to still take this place over. They're bombing the crap out of Kiev at this point. They're probably going to annex the place. Hopefully that's the end of it. But
Yeah, it's
who knows?
crazy.
And for guys like us, look, the reality of it is, I mean, the bigger picture is that this guy doesn't want Ukraine to become part of NATO, because if they become part of NATO, you got U.S. missiles and NATO missiles right on your doorstep. So part of that rambling speech that the guy gave on Monday was kind of wrapped up in that stuff. It's scary, man. It's scary, because Putin seems a little unhinged. He's got that, that Hitler type vibe going on in terms of like, I don't give a fuck what I'm gonna do. Excuse my language. You know, try and stop me. And sanctions aren't going to work at this point. He's already in there. And who's to say he doesn't invade Latvia or like Estonia or any of those little Baltic Sea
Astoria?
places?
Yo, if he invades Astoria, shit's on, man. Shit is on, bro.
But it's scary, man. At the end of the day, it's very scary. It could go. I think. Listen, you're going to pay a high, like you said, you're going to pay high money for oil and gasoline for the next couple months. I think the stock market's really going to get beat up. It's already been beat up for the last couple of months, and look, you hope he just stops from there. But it ain't a good situation. In a worst case scenario, you could have a nuclear attack somewhere on the European continent, and if the guy's really crazy, he comes after us at some point. Which he's kind of alluded to in terms of like threats and shit.
We'll see what happens with that. But you know what's even crazier? I just saw Louis C.K., the comedian, is still scheduled to perform.
Yeah, he's there.
In
Yeah, he's
Kyiv.
going to perform there.
Kiev, isn't it Kiev? Everyone's calling it Kyiv now. Wasn't it Kiev for like 1,000 years, and now it's Kyiv?
I thought it was Kiev.
I thought it was Kiev too. But he didn't cancel any of his shows, and he's performing there. Man, how bad do you need the money, man? How bad,
Dude, I'm a big soccer fan, like you guys know, and the reality is that the soccer play is trapped over there. They actually took out the Champions League final, which is like the European equivalent of the Super Bowl. So I guess as a result of Russia invading Ukraine, they took the Champions League out of Russia this year, and they're going to relocate it to like a different spot. Meanwhile, you got players who were participating in the Champions League. You got Brazilian people and all sorts of different people from different countries who play for these Russian teams. They're kind of trapped there. It's pretty some scary shit. I actually read somewhere today, the boxer Khrushchev or whatever the hell his name is, Vladimir Khrushchev, the Khrushchev brothers. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong.
I don't know. Oh,
those Russian guys, the Russian heavyweights. Yeah, the two brothers. Khrushchevs, I think their name is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Make a long story short, one's the mayor of Kiev, and he's like in battle armor right now, and he's like saying, I'm gonna fight to the death and shit. I hope they don't kill this guy. He's the mayor over there, and he's like,
we're gonna slaughtered, man.
Yeah,
I don't want that guy getting slaughtered. Isn't he married to that chick, the actress? Wasn't he married to some famous actress? One of them, Klitschko, the Klitschko brothers.
Yes.
Yeah, one of them's married to like a famous actress.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
It's Vitaly and Vladimir Klitschko, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's the older guy. I think it's Vitaly. That's the guy. So Vitaly is the mayor of Kiev, He's like our age, the guy. The guy's like 50 years old. And he's like in battle gear. He's got like his camo on and stuff. And he's like, yeah, we're gonna fight to the death and shit. It's like, dude, you're outnumbered like 4-1. They're rocketing
Yeah,
missiles
they were
into
showing
you.
the numbers
You
the other
know,
day, man. It's crazy. But
it's not good shit. But yeah, I think he's married. One of them is married to somebody famous. I'm not sure which one it is.
Hayden Panettiere. One of them's married to the chick Hayden Panettiere. She was an
Okay.
actress. She's an actress. Whatever happened. Anyway, moving on. A lot of dead famous people this week.
Yeah, Sally Kellerman today.
Yeah, so
Hot
Sally
Lips from
Kellerman
MASH.
from Back to School. I loved her in Back to School.
Oh, fantastic.
Thornton Mellon. She dated
Gordon
Thornton
Mellon.
Mellon.
And what was the guy's name? The uptight English guy that she was dating and kind of
I don't remember the English guy's name. I don't remember the English guy's name. He was funny too in it, but Rodney Dangerfield shit all over him. Sam Kinison. That was like Sam Kinison's big debut as
yeah, man.
the history teacher. That was a great movie.
So, little helper, Mr. Helper. Let me ask you a question. What would happen if
Yeah, she 84. She had dementia.
Yeah, that's messed up stuff. I mean, look, I know you and I have both have experiences with that stuff. That's not good. Hopefully they can eventually get that shit under control, but she had a good career, man. She had Dangerfield. She was the original Hot Lips from MASH.
Yeah, she was in the original movie.
She had some other stuff as
well. She was on Star Trek. She was on the OG Star Trek.
Right.
And then like a whole bunch of other TV stuff, a whole bunch of other little movie stuff. She stopped acting, I think, like 2015 or 20. She only stopped acting like 5 years ago.
So. I believe you're right. She was in a couple of Alfred Hitchcocks, I think, back in the day. I'm just trying to think some old school movies. What the hell was she in? The second pilot for Star Trek, I think in the original one, she was included. Breakfast at Tiffany's. In the 70s, she was all over the place, man. She was like you said. I remember her from Back to School primarily. That was my experience
that was like
with
her
her.
Big one. That's such a great movie.
And I don't really remember.
I'm really surprised they haven't tried. That's another one. I'm surprised they haven't tried to do the old reboot on
Back to School.
Yeah, it's a great story.
You could do a woke version of it, but I just don't think that would fly these days because.
Listen, someone would want to say, put a famous comedian in it. And it, I'm sure it would take off. Kevin Hart. Yeah. Kevin Hart Back to School. I could see that.
I could see a Vince Vaughn and then like maybe Vince somebody Vaughn, like The Rock.
Good.
Vince Vaughn and like maybe like a strong guy. Like a strong man, like a muscle bound dude. Maybe a Vin Diesel type. Yeah.
Vin Diesel is the chauffeur.
Yeah. Right. Huh. And modernize it. But again, we've talked about it, Mike. It's like, the comedy, it's changed from what you could do 30 years ago. Some of those jokes, they'd have to be tailored today in a snarky way so that you couldn't get yourself in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. But, it just seems they always run out of ideas and there's always like a remake going on. I'm just surprised that's not like one of the movies they've decided to do. There's been so many of them,
There has. I just think that the way things are going with society today, it's like, there's so many things that you can't do or you can't make fun of or you can't say. It's really, you're in the middle of it and doing like the comedy shows and stuff. And it's like, even you, I mean, you must struggle in terms of like, what you can say, what you can't say.
Yeah, there is what you can and cannot say. Or, I mean, technically it's supposed to be nothing's off limits, but I've seen people go on stage, say a word or say a phrase, and like the wind just goes out of the room.
Yeah, just the wind goes out of the room. So like, even if you can say it, it's like you really can't because people don't find it funny, or they have a different sense of humor, or they find it offensive that, maybe when we were growing up, it was fine. True. It was no big deal. So, it would be interesting to see them redo that. It's an interesting thing. What else did I see this week? I saw a little bit of that Kanye documentary, dude. What a wild dude this guy is. I put something up on Twitter, and for the audience out there, who is a crazier dude? Is it Kanye or is it Antonio Brown?
See, I say, yeah, Kanye's eccentric because he's got billions of dollars. He's not crazy. Antonio Brown, who knows? To me, Antonio Brown, it was like just the one outburst so far.
dude, he's had a big spiral downwards, going back to the Steelers, the end of the Steelers. Like he didn't do
Yeah, but
anything
it's
crazy like this, but
you know what it is? It hasn't been as public really as this guy lately. I mean, this guy's been a progression over the last what 4 years, basically 3 4 years of him just
right, right. And in all fairness,
really.
it could be CTE, with this guy too. There could be an
Oh yeah,
element of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But you know, the, I watched a little bit of the documentary. I didn't get it too much into it. He dropped a new album, I guess, on Monday or Tuesday, and it's funny how you consume media these days. Like, I watched his album being dropped on Twitch.
Yeah.
So at some point, for the audience out there, me and Mike, hopefully we can get onto Twitch, which is a huge platform. There's not as much censorship on there as perhaps like a YouTube. I don't think you get it too much on Spotify and Apple, but YouTube seems to be one of those forums and platforms that's really heavily. You got to watch what you say, you got to watch what you play, you got to watch basically everything. And Twitch is really kind of the Wild West, even when it comes to music and DJing. So when the pandemic first started, Mike, I did a couple live sets on Facebook, and I kind of explained it to you off air in the sense that I stopped doing it because after 30, 40 minutes, if you played the wrong stuff, you got a little warning from Facebook. They shut you down, and it got to the point where it wasn't worth my while. But DJs got smart. They moved to this platform called Twitch, and basically you can kind of get away with a lot more stuff in terms of what you can say, copyright, etc. And just going back to Kanye for a moment, I saw his whole album dropped. Think about when we were kids and when we were teenagers and stuff. The new U2 album dropped, or the new Bon Jovi album dropped, or the new Guns N' Roses dropped. What you do? You bought first an album, then it was a CD, and to hear the entire thing, you're paying $13.99. And this thing, I saw his entire album like literally for free on a stream. Cool as hell, but it was a little wild, man. It was like this dystopic type environment. It was like really dark and dreary. It looked like
Yeah, but
something
that's
like
the
out
thing
of
he's been doing lately. Didn't he
yeah.
have one thing like the last one was like a church and he's wearing these robes and he's got masks on now like he's in Squid Game. Dude, he's a whack job, but he's got billions of dollars. So
This was like a cross
he
between
can
London
afford
is
to be a
calling.
nut, you know. And I
This
mean,
was like a cross between like London is calling the old video by the Clash on MTV, and it was like that, a mixture of like Eyes Wide Shut, and it was very dark and like a mix of like maybe the current Batman, that's coming out with Robert Pattinson, and it's like
yeah,
music was good, like if you kind of like hip hop and stuff, but it was just like,
he's a kook. The dude's a kooky dude, man. And I mean, he's shitting all over Pete Davidson.
what
Like,
is what is up with him and Pete Davidson? Like I see that like Davidson kind of took his Twitter off because he didn't want to get involved
yeah,
with
but he
him.
thinks like he's like, oh, I got Pete Davidson off Twitter. Dude, the guy's banging your wife, dude. He won. You're the guy running around like a crazy man. This guy's with your woman, hanging with. And I think he's like big with like, oh, he's not going to see my kids and never meet my kids and all this shit. And
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but I mean, the guy is he's off his meds, man. You could tell that's someone that was definitely medicated, and when they go off their meds, like the way they react to things. Like when he was, I think, like one of his last times on Rogan, he is just, he's on another planet when
Yeah,
he's
man.
on.
Listen, he's out there, man. Listen, he ran for president. I mean, that's number one. I mean, for the black community out there, I don't think they're too fond of him either. In terms of, I think he was a big Trump supporter at one point before he ran for president,
Well,
which
yeah,
didn't fly.
he's done a lot of interviews where he tries to call it the black community a lot, where it's like, don't just get money and spend money, invest your money, you know, real estate, business ventures, things like that. And I think he made a couple of videos like that where he was interviewed, and they weren't too fond of that. They weren't happy with him with that, and like I said, he's just a guy that's off the rails. Musically, I don't like using the word genius a lot. Musically, he's definitely one of the most creative writer producers that's probably
Oh
been
yeah.
around in the last 20 years.
I mean, listen, for my hip hop buddies out there, we talk about this all the time. The greatest rapper of all time. I mean, look, my personal belief is just because of longevity is Jay-Z, but Kanye is up there, man. I
Yeah.
don't think Kanye has the exact, catalog that Jay-Z has, in my opinion. But he's up there, man. He's up there.
I
You know,
watched I watched some interview with, who is it? Jamie Foxx. Shout out Jamie Foxx. And he was talking about how he met him. Like, this is before they did Gold Digger, years before, and how he met him at a party. I think it was Prince. Prince introduced him, and he goes, "Listen to this kid," and he just started, like, whatever he was doing.
he's around almost 20 plus years now.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx was just like enthralled with this kid, like couldn't believe it, and was
Yeah,
like,
super
This
talented guy,
kid's,"
man.
and like everyone, I think anyone that's ever worked with him has never said like, "Oh, he's not professional, he's not creative." He's amazing, but like a lot of these creative geniuses, they got some mental issues. And that's probably what he is right now. He's definitely going through a lot of shit. I mean, think about it. He's going through a divorce on social media and going back and forth with people on social media about getting divorced. So I'm sure that's definitely going to have an effect on you, on top of trying to be this creative genius with his space croc shoes that are worth $90. I could never find myself buying a pair of those things though. They're Crocs.
No,
They're
listen,
$90 Crocs. That's
we
what
have
they are.
Crocs. We have Crocs out here. You know,
Yeah.
they're cool. Would I spend $90 on them? No, no.
Or whatever
No,
they are.
not me.
But
No, thank you.
who knows? Who else? Dude, there was a lot of dead people. Like we said, there was a lot of dead people this week.
Oh, the guy from the Screaming Trees,
Yeah, Mark
Lanham.
Lanegan, 57.
Which, in all fairness, listen, I'm sorry he passed away, but he's a one-hit wonder. I mean, that's the single soundtrack. I mean, other than that, I mean, I don't really,
Yeah, he had that one song. Yeah.
you know, I nearly lost you there.
Yeah.
You know, that big grunge song like in the early 90s and stuff, you know, for the folks out there
And
that,
then he did stuff with what was it? Queens of the Stone Age.
yeah.
He
But nobody really remembers him from Queens of the Stone Age. They remember
No.
from that single soundtrack, you know, single. That was
I
the
had
biggest
no idea
one.
what the song was, so I heard it again because it's been so long.
Yeah,
But
dude, we played it all the time. Actually, the funny thing was, I met Matt Dillon when they were filming singles at the strip club that I worked on, the Lower West Side, and Matt Dillon was in. I guess he was in character. He had the long hair and he had the trench coat. It was the night that De Niro and Joe Pesci came into the club, and I couldn't really get near De Niro and I couldn't get near Pesci because they were like in the upper VIP level, and I did get close to Matt Dillon. I stood right next to him, and we had a conversation. Well, you know, as much of a conversation as you could have, like in a nightclub. You know, it was late at night. It was about 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'm like, dude, you're Matt Dillon. And he's like, yeah, man. I go, why do you look like that? He goes, yeah, I'm filming this movie. You know, I'm filming this movie Singles. You know, it's coming out. It's, you know, it's about the grunge scene. Blah blah blah. He was cool. Like, you know, I gotta be honest with you. He carried a conversation on with me for at least a couple minutes, which is usually a lot more than you get typically from these kind of celebrities, Mike. But
was he high? Maybe he was.
yeah. He was out. He was
out of his
definitely out
mind.
there, man.
Yeah,
He was out of his mind.
Going out.
He was definitely out there, dude. He
They
was
have
definitely out
a third brother because those guys grew up in Yonkers, like
there.
Westchester,
Kevin Dillon,
Yonkers
Matt
area.
Dillon.
There's Matt, Kevin, and I think there's another brother, and he does tile for a living. He's a tile guy. My old partner used to work in a tile store, and he goes,
Okay.
the guy kind of looks like a mixture of Matt and Kevin Dillon. And he goes, the guy would just come in with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. He's like, yeah, let me get 8 boxes of that. Let me get 7 boxes of that.
Yeah, man. Listen, Tom Cruise is from up there too. He's from upstate New York.
Yeah, but he's really young. I think he's like the Syracuse area. That's like
Yeah, I think he.
3,
Yeah,
4
he's up.
hours upstate.
Right. I think Dylan is actually from New Rochelle, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I know it's like the Westchester area. It's,
Yeah.
for anyone that doesn't know, that's, you're 20
What's your
minutes
favorite role
outside,
from Matt Dillon?
half hour. But
What's your favorite Matt Dillon role?
I
mean, he's had a great career. I mean,
The Outsiders.
All right.
Dally.
Dally?
Dude,
Or
he's
is
got
it?
he's got the funniest death scene. When he's just like crawling on the ground.
Well,
Like
wait a
that.
second. One of my favorites, and I think it's right up there. Moody from My Bodyguard with Chris
Moody's a
Makepeace.
good one. Moody is a good one.
Moody. I'm just trying to think in between the one. Oh, Crash, Officer Ryan, right?
Crash was good. Something About Mary. He's pretty funny.
He was funny there, right? He's
Oh,
had a
you know, it's
great
a great movie with him in it. Beautiful Girls. Beautiful
yeah,
Girls is a
yeah, 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 yeah,
great
yeah.
movie, man.
Yeah, I'll take
I was
that.
just
I'll buy
watching
that.
that. It's on cable now. I haven't seen that movie in years. Man, that's a movie you could really if when I was in my like 20s watching that movie, what a great flick, man.
The Birdman, right?
Yeah, it just captures the it captured the time really well. Great, great movie,
I don't
man.
even
Was it
remember what the
Ted
hell the
Demi?
movie was about. I just remember his character, Birdman, right?
No. Was it no.
Tommy Birdman, right?
No, wasn't it Timothy Hutton was the Birdman in it?
I thought he was Tommy Birdman. I mean,
Uh
if I'm thinking about the right movie,
this is with Timothy Hutton, Rappaport's in it, Uma
Beautiful Girls,
Thurman.
right?
What?
Beautiful Girls, right?
Yeah. It's like the
I'm almost.
upstate. What is it? Like up in Massachusetts, I think. Like
It's
some
like
little
about a
small
piano
town.
player. The guy's a piano player, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one.
I'm pretty sure he's Tommy Birdman.
Is that it? Birdman. Yeah. Who else? Lauren Holly's in it.
Lauren Holly. Yep, yep.
There's a
Um,
lot of famous. You know, a young Natalie Portman.
what was the movie that he did with Gretzky's wife? Um, oh, the Flamingo Kid.
Good movie. Yeah. Very funny movie.
Back in the day, like 84, 85 ish in
Yeah.
that ballpark. I'm just trying to think everything else in that time period.
Rumblefish.
He was not in Red Dawn, right? It was Thomas C. Howell. It was
No,
Swayze, right?
that's Swayze, Sheen, Howell. Yeah, he wasn't in that.
Yeah. He should have. I'll tell you what, he would have been perfect in that movie.
He would have been good in that. Yeah.
Him, I could see Emilio Estevez in that, right?
Yeah.
You know, that whole little crew. Even Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah. If they would, yeah, they would have made that a whole like Brat Pack movie.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, I could see that, but
It was like, and that was prior to Color of the Money. Color of the Money was 86. I guess Red Dawn was like 84, 85.
probably
Makes
like
sense.
84, 85.
84.
Right, Dawn. The
Yeah,
first
man, listen,
PG-13 movie.
that was at the height of the Cold War, bro.
Yeah.
Height of the 94, 84, excuse me. What do you think of the remake that they made of it, Mike? Did you ever
Never
watch the
watched
remake?
it. Never watched
Brutal.
it. Refused to
So
watch it.
bad. So bad. It's
There's
about
certain
the
like remakes I won't like. I've never seen Steve Martin's Pink Panther movies. I refuse to watch that. And I mean, no disrespect to Steve Martin, man, but there's only one guy that can do that role, and he's been dead for like 40 years. So,
40 years, right? Yeah, yeah.
so
Um, no, I agree with you. There's certain stuff that I can't rewatch. You know what I can't watch? I refuse to watch the Karate Kid remake
never watched it. Never
with
watched
the
it.
little kid. No
Oh, was
way.
it Jaden Smith? Yeah.
Horrible. I think I caught one piece of it, like one scene. I was like, I got to get out of here. This is brutal.
Now,
Absolutely
now
brutal.
here's the thing. Do you think like Jaden Smith does a cameo anywhere in Cobra Kai coming up? If they're doing nods to all of these movies,
You know what? I could see it. I could definitely see it.
because I want to know if that happens and does what's her face Hillary Swank show
Hillary
up?
Swank. I think you're going to get Hillary Swank in there. I think you're going to get Hillary Swank. I read something where they kind of kicked the bucket and she was very, ambiguous about it. I think you're going to get her. I think
She
you're going to
hasn't
get the
done
other.
a lot lately. I mean, she
No.
won 2 Academy Awards and then like kind of disappeared.
She had that big run, like you said, those 2 big movies that she did in a short amount of time, and then
Yeah.
that was it, man. That was it. Like she did some stuff in the '90s, but I think that transgender movie that she made, I think, won a couple of awards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, was it Boys Don't Cry? She won, and then
Right.
Million Dollar Baby she won.
Right, right. Million Dollar Baby was okay. The other one, I could, care less about it one way or the other. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, you're right. She really, who strikes me as a similar type actress, different, obviously, roles and stuff, is what's her face from The Blind Side. She was
Sandra
in
Bullock.
Sandra Bullock, who I'm never a big fan of. It's like, she's not like overly hot, and the roles that she gets, she's not a great actress, but she seems to be in a lot of stuff, but her career to me is like, for such a big name actress, you would think that she has more stuff than she really did. That makes sense to you?
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, she's made a lot of bombs,
Right.
you
And
know.
I'm just
And
thinking
then
for
what
that
was the
kind of
last thing she did? That bird box thing on like Netflix or whatever it was she did. And
brutal, man. Brutal, brutal, brutal,
but it seems
brutal.
they're all running like if they're it seems like if their box office career is starting to hit the toilet, they all go to like Netflix, every other streaming service now. You go to like Amazon and what is it, Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, you'll see like their original programming is it's through the roof now. I mean, it really is. They have a lot of original shows on these channels, and it's with some of them are like super big name stars, man.
Dude,
So
Netflix, listen, I mean, the way movies are going,
the
I
way
mean,
Netflix is, man, Netflix is putting out like new movies, like almost a couple of new movies a month with
dude, we've
big
talked
names.
about this. We've talked about this endlessly. You know, the way that the pandemic has shaped culture, it's completely changed the way that movies are going to be distributed. I think that the traditional movie
Yep.
experience will still be there, but I think that the way that we envision it, 20, 30 years ago, or even 10 years ago is gone and it ain't coming back. I heard this guy, Colin Cowherd, say something smart the other day. I put it on Twitter where he was talking about CEOs in the country. And he's like, a lot of these CEOs, they want their, he was talking about the great reset and the great resignation and all this stuff. And he was talking about LeBron out and with the Lakers, and he's like, these CEOs, they just don't get it, Mike. Like just going back to movies for a second. Some of these movie distributors, like you said, in comparison to Netflix, he goes like some of these CEOs, they just don't get it. Like people don't want to go back to work. It's not that they don't want to work;
Yeah.
they just don't want to go back into an office building and commute. They don't want to, they want to spend time with their dogs and their kids and their wives and husbands, and they have no interest in going back. And like these CEOs just keep on pressing the issue. And it's like they don't get it. And what Coward said, he goes, along with the rest of the culture, whether it be movies and Netflix, you don't want to adapt, you're out. You're finished. Fire the goddamn CEO. Get a new guy. Get a new guy who gets it.
Yeah,
And
everyone liked
you
I
know,
think everyone oh, excuse me, for the most part, I think a lot of people like staying home. I think a lot of
absolutely.
people like
Now,
getting up
think about
and
what's going on with this Ukrainian bullshit. So think about it. If gas is $5 a gallon or $4 a gallon,
yeah, how much
you
money are you
know,
gonna
and
save?
and I need two cars to get back and forth to work, between me and my wife to our jobs. Think about how much money that we got to spend just to get back and forth to our place of work, where
Exactly.
I can do the same shit from home and save that money. And you could ride the whole thing out. You know, People don't get it. I think, listen, with this whole thing and the effect on the economy, I think it would be a million times worse if we were 3 years ago prior to the pandemic. Because I think that with people working from home and spending more time at home and their habits are different. I don't think it's. I mean, it's bad in terms of the gas prices and the energy prices and the inflation and all that other bullshit. But the reality of it, it's a little bit different, Mike. Working from your house and staying from your house and consuming stuff from your house in terms of movies and stuff, via Netflix or whatever it is, or even watch an album. Think about it like in terms of a concert. Like if I wanted to hear the new Kanye stuff, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have had to buy a ticket and gone to a concert and heard Kanye stuff. And now you got these streaming services like YouTube or Spotify or Twitch, and you can see the whole goddamn thing for free. You know,
Exactly.
but
Exactamundo, Fonzie.
on a different note, I think I'm gonna go check out Paul McCartney at the Meadowlands in June.
I have no interest. He's 100 years old. What's
He's
he gonna
100
play?
years old, but I want to see a Beatle
It's
live
a
before they
bucket
kick.
list concert, man. That's
Right,
all it
that's
is. It's
exactly
a
what it
bucket
is.
list concert. I don't
Right.
know if I want to go see a guy that old. He doesn't strike me too as a guy like Mick Jagger or like a Steven Tyler where he's all over the stage running around.
I
He's
agree.
he's
I
what,
agree,
70?
but here's the kick. The kick is he's got about 4 or 5 songs that are just off the roof. And you got to imagine he's going to kick in some Beatles songs, knowing probably this is going to be one of his last tours. Secondly, you kind of like Billy Joel towards the end, and Billy Joel still tours, but you always bank on him bringing on somebody else, a Ringo Starr, maybe who knows, maybe a Clapton or whoever, a type of person that you may not, you, you may get a double bang for your buck if that
I
makes
know,
sense.
yeah. I get what you're saying, but where is he playing? MetLife?
He's playing MetLife June 16th, I believe, the Thursday, and
Yeah,
I can't
I just
imagine the
have
ticket's going to
no.
be
It's
too
just
much.
gonna be a bunch of old. Dude, you're probably gonna be like one of the youngest guys there.
Oh, I
It's gonna be
agree.
all people like our parents' age going to this like just all
Yeah, I agree with you.
you
I
know,
agree with you.
you get a lot of people in their like early 60s going. I see no it's gonna look like a Jimmy Buffett concert minus the Hawaiian shirts. That's
Dude,
what it's
Jimmy
gonna
Buffett's a great time, man. If you
I'm
have a
not saying
chance,
Jimmy Buffett isn't a great time, but that's exactly the crowd you're getting
yeah, yeah, yeah.
minus the Hawaiian shirts.
Dude,
It's
Jimmy
gonna be a
Buffett is a wild ass concert, man. If you've
well,
ever been to the Jones Beach ones,
Jimmy Buffett is more of the hang before the concert than the actual concert.
dude, me and my wife have gone to that show about 3 or 4 times at Jones Beach. And I got to be honest with you, the way they do it, they close down 5 parking lots at
Yeah.
Jones Beach. And from like 10 in the morning, people actually do it like the night before. They come with their campers and stuff, and they just literally take over those parking lots. And dude, it is a zoo. Like if you get to that first parking lot or two at Jones Beach,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it is, dude, it's like a rave, man. It's crazy. And you don't have 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds at the thing. You have them, but you have these kids like 18, 19 years old, even younger. And dude, it's a shit show. Like picture the Bordy Barn,
Yeah,
mixed with
that's
like,
I have no desire to go to anything like that anymore.
I
It's
agree.
just not enjoy that would not be enjoyable for me.
What we do is we kind of go out to the fourth or fifth parking lot where it's kind of further away and you have to walk and stuff. We set up a barbecue. I got a little tent. We blast the music and we have a great time. You go in, the show's at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. We get there about 3 in the afternoon, take the day off from work. It's a great time, man. Whether you're a Buffett fan or not, you're a Finhead or what, it's great. And I think that goes along the lines of what McCartney is. Like
Yeah, that's
I
I have no desire to go sit in a parking lot with like all these guys that are going to be it's all that's it. They're just going to be blasting like Beatles music, a couple of Wings tunes, you know. I don't know.
What was the song that guy was singing in whatchamacallit, Role Models? The guy that kind of reminded me of John from the Boy Scouts. He played like
Oh,
the counselor, and he's like,
yeah, the guy
"Love
that was just
down, but
making up
take
the
me
yeah,
down
yeah.
to the streets." He goes, "That's not Wings."
Love, take me down to the
To
street.
the streets. He goes,
The
"Yeah, it
Wings
is."
song. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Paul Rudd. He's like, "No, it's not." The guy always strikes me as a smaller version of John, man. He's so good, that guy.
But yeah, I don't think I would enjoy it. And I'm not that huge of a it's not like because that's the other thing too. What are the songs he's gonna do, man? Is he gonna be like,
Gonna
this
play
is
Hey
off my
Jude.
new album? If he becomes one
No,
of those
no, no, no,
motherfuckers
no,
that
no,
does
no,
that
no, no,
bullshit,
no, 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 no. He's gonna play
he's
say,
gonna sprinkle in
say,
a lot of shit.
say. Yeah, he's gonna play say, say, say. He's gonna play Hey Jude.
Yeah, but
He's gonna.
say without Michael Jackson. Who fucking it's half the song.
It is. It is. I'm sure he'll bring in a guest for it. I could see
Who?
him do.
Tito? Is Tito Jackson gonna sing it? Marlon?
You can go a lot of different ways with it. Maybe get a guy like Bruno Mars on there.
He, now you're reaching for like just he's gonna bring out the
Now,
whole
listen. I mean,
catalog.
is it going to happen? No, but I'm saying someone of that caliber. As far as maybe not the name recognition, but somebody who could kind of pull it off. I think Bruno would obviously be the best bet for that. But I'm just trying to think other stuff. I mean, he could bring if Ringo shows up. Now all of a
I can
sudden
see
you got a whole bunch of stuff.
now where does Ringo Starr live right now? Is he in England or does he
Ringo's
live
in England. Ringo's in England.
I don't see Ringo getting on a plane unless it's a big check, man.
Private plane.
I
Right.
don't see him getting on a
Payday.
plane unless it's dude, he's
It's a
another
payday.
guy. He's the oldest member of the band too. I think he's like pushing
He's 80. Yeah, he's 80,
Yeah,
dude.
he's 80.
And he is,
You think
and he is the
80-year-olds want to
oldest.
get on
Right.
planes? I think Ringo wipes his ass with $100 bills. I don't think he needs to get on a plane.
Dude, he looks great, by the way. He always reminded me. Well, my uncle Sonny always reminded me of him.
Peace and love. Peace and love. You ever hear Stern when we used to call like his voicemail or whatever? Ringo put out this whole thing of like he used to send out like autographs.
Yeah.
Email him and oh man, Stern used to play this such a funny bit of how he changed his voicemail. It was very funny.
But if
yeah,
that
man,
guy shows up, he goes, "You got it. Don't come easy, right? You got it with a little help from your friends. I'm sure they'll kick that out. Yellow Submarine. You're 16. You're beautiful. So many songs, man, that they could roll out.
You know who's a New York guy that I could see showing up? A young dude, probably blasting out a couple of songs with him. John Mayer.
I could see Mayer. I
John
could see
Mayer
a
is a
guy.
New
I could
York
see a guy
guy.
like John. I could see a guy like
Oh,
John
like an East
Legend.
Coast. I'm almost positive. I mean, I'm sure he's got a million houses everywhere, but I'm pretty sure he's like an East Coast dude. So I could see him. I could see a guy like him showing up. I could see Billy Joel showing up.
I could see Billy Joel. I could see Elton John. I could see a guy like
Elton, I
I
could
could even
see. Elton, I don't know about. Elton's another guy. He lives in England. Does he want to get on a plane? No.
dude,
I
they
don't
don't
think
care.
Elton wants
They
to get
get
on
on
a
their own
plane.
private. They get
Another
on their
guy
own
that wipes
private
his
jets.
ass with diamonds and $100 bills. He doesn't need to get on a plane.
True, true. I could see on a new front. I could see Coldplay.
I can see,
I
yeah.
could see I could see Coldplay come out and do a duet with him. You know, that's the allure of it. Now, does that stuff happen, Mike? I don't think so. You know, I don't think you're getting maybe if you get one of those people out there, I think you'd be very lucky. But yeah, listen, McCartney's McCartney, man. You know, I mean, I've seen the Stones 2 or 3 times at this point. I've never seen the Beatles because obviously they were finished by the time, we before our time.
Yeah.
And in terms of solo acts, I mean, I never really had a desire to kind of see Ringo or even Harrison at that point.
Ringo
I'm
used
a
to do
big
that thing
Harrison.
years ago, though, when we were young. Remember that Ringo All-Star Band? That was a
Oh,
band,
it was great
man.
with Sheena Easton. Yeah,
He had Sheena Easton. He had like Joe Walsh. He had all these great
he was good, man.
guitar players and
He's really
like
good.
he had some band, man. When you looked
Ringo's
at
good,
it,
man. No,
but I mean,
Ringo's
like I
real
said,
good.
these are other guys, man. Certain people are getting old, and I met Paul McCartney once, man. He's a tiny little guy. He shook my hand, and that was it. And then we went our
Well,
separate
these dudes
ways.
shrink. I mean, you shrink as you get older, Mike. I mean,
But
I'm small to begin with, but I find myself getting
he was a
small. But
tiny little man, no matter what.
I met Warren Buffett years ago, and about 10 years ago, and there's another guy like, dude, I put my hand on his back, and I felt like I thought the guy was gonna crumble. You know, I mean, he was just like so
How old is
fragile.
he now, Warren Buffett? 80s?
Warren's got to be like, no, he's in his 90s, dude. He's up there. He's
Really?
really up there. He was in his 80s when I met him years ago. Let's take a look. Nice dude, man. Nice dude. 91 years old.
Wow. So he was 81 roughly when you met him?
Yeah, right. Like 80, 81 at the time. And dude,
Oh,
he was
dude,
frail.
you know who I met? And as a Giant fan, you'll appreciate this, but he looked like a corpse when I met him, was Wellington Mara.
Oh,
Dude, I
yeah.
met this guy. This has to be almost 20 years ago. And the guy looked, wow. I was like, holy mackerel, dude, what's up? You
My
all
friend
right?
Joe, my friend Joe in the 44, if he's watching this, he met Steinbrenner towards the end. And when he was like all decrepit and stuff, he goes, what a shame. He saw him like in the elevator one time. He was in the wheelchair, I guess after all the strokes and shit. And my friend Joe was like, this guy didn't even know what planet he was on. It was just really sad.
Yeah,
It was
they
like
just wheeled him around.
2007, like 2008, like in that ballpark, But no, Mara would have been cool to meet. He
was
seemed like a
old,
cool
man.
guy.
He was just old dude, man. He was like, wow, up there.
He seemed
But
like a cool dude,
he
man.
shook my hand, very nice.
You meet Tim Mara or the other guy?
Nah, he was with, I want to say he was with his wife. This was
Okay.
like 99 maybe or 2000. Here's a story. I was in the stadium for a playoff game, and they moved me and my partner. They were like, listen, Steinbrenner wants 2 cops at his private elevator. So that's where we sat.
Okay.
So that was our post for the entire. It was a playoff game against the Mariners. I want to say 99 or 2000.
I
And I want to say they lost
2000.
that
Yeah, it was
2000.
2000. Yeah.
So then it was
2000.
2000. They lost one of the games at the stadium, and that's the game I remember working because Steinbrenner left and he was pissed. I remember him walking out. He was the last guy to leave. Dude, you had to see the people in Steinbrenner's box that were walking out. That night I met Wellington Mara. Bud Selig comes walking out. Dan Rather came walking out. Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton walked out, and I've said this story before, man. When that guy shakes your hand, you're the only person in the room.
Did you shake his hand?
Oh, yeah. He didn't shake my partner's hand. Like, I was the closest one to him. And he just grabbed my hand, and he was just like, he put his hand out, and he's like, I want to thank you for your service.
He shook your hand. He's a nice Irish kid.
And then, like, as the elevator was closing, he went, smell my finger. And then the elevator closed, and he left. But, yeah, it was like, it was all these people kept walking out, man. And
So you
Steinbrenner,
make so you shut Clinton's hand, man. That's
yeah,
impressive, man.
he had like 2 Secret Service dudes. He came like right to the elevator. It opened up as soon as he was there. Boom, handshake. Thank you for your service. Closed, gone in the wind.
So that's got to be the year after he left office, because Bush took office, I guess, in the
Well, that was the
no.
whole thing too, man.
Oh, he was
Everybody,
still president.
he
He
was
was
still
still president
president,
at
I
the time.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You met the president, dude. That's insane. Like I said, the closest I got to a president was Trump. Back in the early '90s, but that wasn't when he was president. He was just a regular guy at that point, or a regular businessman. Other than that, I'm just trying to think of. No, man, there was no one remotely close. I think there was a time where I had a chance to meet Hillary Clinton, but other than that, that's cool. That's cool that you met him.
I know guys when I worked in the Bronx, it was I think right before they both died. Because didn't Mother Teresa and Princess Diana die around the same time?
Yeah, Diane, I think
They
was
were
like
in the South
97,
Bronx.
98, kind of somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, they were like in the South Bronx at the same time at some like charity thing. And I know a couple of cops that had that detail, and they got to meet both of them.
Yeah, I was in California, in Los Angeles, when what's his face, Marlon Brando passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, August of 04. Yeah, we were out there. That was weird, man.
The
I heard it
Godfather.
come. The Godfather. Hey, do me a favor.
Oh, dude, you know who we forgot? The amazing Jonathan died. The magician, comedian. The
Who's your
amazing
favorite?
dude. Have you ever seen his documentaries?
No.
Holy dude, the amazing Jonathan. You know what he could make disappear? Crystal meth and a lot of it. I was
He didn't look like,
watching. He
he
has
didn't
2
look like the healthiest
documentaries.
guy.
Listen, the amazing Jonathan, very funny guy, very funny comedian / magician. He was in that vein of like Penn and Teller, like, on the edge kind of magic with comedy, really good stuff. He had like a whole bunch of medical issues the last few years of his life, but he was big into drugs, man. And there's 2 documentaries about him. One is a guy, Steve Byrne, comedian. He followed him around. The other is another guy. And they were both filming these documentaries like around the same time. And the one documentary is not the Steve Byrne one, it's the other one. I think you can watch it on Hulu or Amazon. The documentaries are out there. He's smoking like crystal meth in the documentaries. Like, I just need a little bit to get me by during the day. He was like a real crazy
Science, bitch.
Yeah. But R.I.P. Amazing Jonathan, man. He's very funny. He used to drink Windex on stage.
Who's your favorite magician of all time?
Oh,
tough one, right?
I never had a favorite magician. I don't know, man. Doug Henning in the World of Illusion.
He was a weird dude.
It's illusion.
I think it's Harry Houdini for me. Even though like you see like these old black and
But
whites from him.
What did he do? He wasn't even a magician. He was more of like an escape artist guy.
Dude, that's a weird documentary too. If you ever can catch that, on how the guy died. I guess he got punched in the stomach.
Yeah, like rupture his spleen or
ruptured his spleen or some stuff. Weird way the guy died. All sorts of tinfoil hat conspiracies with that guy too.
Yeah, but that's another thing too, man. Back then, like you get a paper cut and you don't, it's getting infected. They're gonna chop your finger off, or you're gonna die in a week. Back then,
Yeah.
How many people died like that?
It's 100 years ago. Think about it.
Yeah,
a little over
Isn't
100
he
years
buried
ago.
in Astoria?
He's buried in Queens. I think he's buried in
At St. Michael's. I think right off the Grand Central. I think
he's either buried there, or you think he might be buried in Middle Village. Let's take a look. I think you're right. I think he might be in Astoria. Let's see.
Or is he?
Or ooh.
Because that's a big thing. I think people go out there like every Halloween. There used to be a thing where people would go to his grave on Halloween.
Remember, we used to know a dude. I don't know if you remember him. Mike Monahan.
Yeah. Mikey Monahan.
And the funny thing is, I know another Mike Monahan. So I went to school with.
Yeah,
so it's
dude,
like,
but I see that guy on Facebook and I always think it's him, and I click on him. I'm like, it's not him. I haven't seen Monahan.
Mike's one of my best friends from college, and Mike's a big dude. And it's like when I met him, he's like, "Yeah, my name's Monahan," and I'm like, "Dude, I knew a guy, Mike Monahan." And he was like, the father was like one of those guys that take care of the cemetery.
I think Monahan's dad.
We went
to grammar school. It was the caretaker of St. Michael's Cemetery. And I think
That's right.
Monahan, they lived in the cemetery.
They did.
They lived
They
on the
did.
ground. I hung out with Mike one day when he was still living in an apartment. Like I went to his house after school one day and we played Atari, and he lived in like this little 2-bedroom apartment where it was like him, his brother, and his sister. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm moving." I'm like, "Where are you moving to, man?" He goes, "I'm moving into the cemetery." And yeah, his dad was like the caretaker of St. Michael's Cemetery.
Maybe Big Pat, St. Pat can remember this. There was a huge Halloween party, like in, I guess we were still in junior high and shit. And I guess it was like at the cemetery. And then we spilled over into this girl's house. I don't know if you remember the girl named Dana. She lived like off Crescent Street, like near Con Ed. And I'd never forget. We went to the cemetery, and then somehow I don't know how the hell we even got there, whether we got driven there and stuff. It was like this huge Halloween party. I'll never forget that. It was really weird, really weird, really weird. And I remember Monahan showing us like where he lived and all sorts of stuff. And he was a funny dude, man.
I
And
went to Dana's party that night. I was at Dana's house that night. There was like 8 of us. And then I think people started trickling in from Monahan's party.
I think you're right. Okay, so you remember it. You remember the party.
Yeah, I remember because I didn't go to Monahan's party. I went to Dana's party.
Right. There is no Dana. Only Zoo.
Only Zoo.
But going back to him, Houdini for a second, I think he got buried in Glendale. I think that's where he is. I don't think he's in Astoria. It's at St. Mike's. I think he's at in Glendale. But off topic, just going back to the Clinton thing and the Yankees and the Mets for a second. You read, have you heard anything about this guy, Marcus Stroman? He's a Long Island guy. He played for the Mets. And now I guess he's complaining about, like, all of a sudden he's getting, like, he got called the N-word and he got all sorts of death threats. He's a pretty vocal guy on Twitter and stuff and on social media. So
my thing is, why didn't he say something when he was playing? I don't get it.
He says the Mets have knowledge of it, and he says that they have
in this. Here's my thing, man. In this age of like you said, social media and everything, I'm surprised like he didn't put it out that night. Like, just
I would too.
Like bashing the Met fans at night. That like I can't believe this was being said to me and blah 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 blah.
Right.
I mean, could it be sour grapes? Maybe.
I don't know. It's just a weird story.
Could it not be?
Like, I mean, he's a local kid. I at one point I was hoping like he could come to the Yankees, but it seems really outspoken. He says some wild shit, and I think he says like he's almost a provocateur, almost like where he's a very leftist guy, and like he kind of says shit like to, I guess, tweak right wing people or people right of center, and I don't know what it is. I listen, I don't discount what he says. I'm not going to call the guy a liar because I'm sure that shit happens. It happened up in Fenway, with one of those guys. It happens all the time, in terms of racial stuff. So I'm not going to discount that. But like the death threats and stuff, I mean, you can tell me better, Mike. I mean, being in law enforcement, somebody gets a death threat. I mean, it gets forwarded over to the authorities, right? I mean,
it depends how they handle it. Either they call the cops or they don't call the cops. If they don't,
somebody threatens a New York Yankee, right, and sends like a death threat and stuff, it gets forwarded over to the.
It'll go through like the intelligence division, and they'll weigh it out,
research it, and
because here's the thing: in this day and age, you know how hard it is to like send an anonymous note or an anonymous email or phone call. You really can't do it anymore.
That's right. So I got to believe, like I don't discount the guy getting called the N-word. I'm sure that happened. I'm not going to call the guy a liar with that. But as far as like death threats and stuff, I would have to believe that the Mets would have forwarded that shit over to the authorities, and that would have been publicized that when it happened. I mean, I don't know. I just saw that story. And I was just a little weirded out by it. I mean, it just seemed a little bit odd, and he seems like kind of a little bit of a shit stirrer too. So I didn't know how much credence to really put into it. But I figured I'd mention it. Obviously we could probably have a lot of Met fans out there, and I know you're a Met fan. So
yeah, I saw the story. I saw it in the Post today. I just like breezed through it real quick. So whatever. Good luck, Marcus Stroman, in your career and life and everything else.
On the plus side, man, well, if we have one this year, which who knows, Mets look like they spent a lot of money, and it looks like they have a decent year this year. They're all of a sudden they're kind of reminiscent of, I guess, the Steinbrenner Yankees from the '80s, just throwing a lot of money, and God bless them. I always took a lot of shit from Met fans saying that my team bought championships, and I really couldn't care.
The only way you win. The only way you win is if you buy the team. I mean, if basketball doesn't prove that, I don't know what does.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I listen. I don't hold anything against it. If the Mets win 5 titles because they I don't give a shit. You know, it is what it is. You still, at the end of the day, you could spend all the money in the world on some of these guys, Mike, but you still got to perform. You still got to, you know, you
yeah.
could take steroids and you could be the biggest guy in the world, but you have no hand-eye and skill coordination. I mean, you know, it doesn't mean anything, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see where the season goes. We'll see where the season takes. I mean, it could be a lockout, could be a strike. Who knows?
I don't think it looks good, man. I don't think it looks good. I think that the players' union is a very strong union, and I think that they think because they have a Democratic president in office who's very pro-union, I think they're really pushing the limits of it, and I hope they get whatever they're looking for. But it's beginning to remind me a little bit of '94, which I don't know if you remember. It wasn't good. We had no World
Yeah.
Series that year, and it took the
Listen,
following year for President Clinton to kind of mediate it and get them to the table. So hope that don't happen. You know, if they can't come to an agreement by Friday or Monday, I think it is. I think they're going to postpone the season. You know, the start of the season. You know,
oh, really?
yeah, which is March 31st. But and we'll see what happens, man. Got the Batman movie coming up soon, huh?
Yeah, March 4th, the new Batman. Everyone's
Dude, it looks good,
it's
man.
getting a lot of positive stuff. Um, who do you think was the best Batman so far?
Oh man, I got to go with. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate on it, but I'm going to go with Bale, man. I like Christian Bale a lot.
I think a lot of people say that. A lot of people say, I like Christian Bale too. I like Michael Keaton. You know,
Keaton was good,
Bale
but
did it the most, basically. Bale
you
did
know,
3 movies.
you know
Keaton
what
did
kills me? You know what kills it for me with Keaton is number one. I guess he became the Birdman or whatever is. He became the villain, right? Number two, he's had such a big career. Like, you know, when you think of somebody, like you think of somebody as an iconic character like Batman. You know, I think of Keaton to an extent, but I also think of You Fartigan Isol. You know, Johnny
Johnny
Dangerously,
Dangerously is one of
right?
the funniest movies ever made. And obviously, you know, that's in a
He's
body
always
of
going to be
work.
Johnny Dangerously to me, so it's kind of
Dude, he
like he
was Johnny
skews my image of
Dangerously,
him.
Mr. Mom. I mean, come on.
You Fartigan
He
Isol,
was
you.
Billy Blaze Jowski in Night Shift, another classic.
What was the one with the mental patients who escaped from the
Oh, the Dream Team, another one.
hysterical,
Great. I
hysterical.
mean, he's got the Beetlejuice.
Oh, hysterical. Not the Chicago mayor, the original. Let's get that clear,
Yeah,
guys. You know,
the
we're not
OG,
going down
the
that road.
Tim Burton. You know who Tim Burton originally wanted for Beetlejuice? Sammy Davis Jr.
Really?
Yeah, I watched. I think we've talked about it on the show. There's a documentary out. Remember Nicolas Cage was going to play Superman, like the
Yes.
late '90s. There's a documentary about how the movie didn't happen. Kevin Smith is in the movie. They actually interviewed the guy doing the documentary. Interviews Tim Burton throughout the entire movie. And he's talking about casting, and they're like, "What made you pick Nicolas Cage?" And what he goes, "Well, Nick was a big comic book fan." He goes, He goes, "I didn't want this to be a comic book movie in a sense." He goes, "I
I wanted
wanted
to be a
a guy
dark
with
movie, right?
offbeat."
Yeah.
He goes, "I wanted a guy with offbeat looks to play the Superman, and it was going to be a very psychological, dark Superman." And he goes, people have always said my casting is weird. He goes, my original thought for uh, Beetlejuice was Sammy Davis Jr. And the guy goes, you see the guy's face like, what? He goes, yeah, I wanted Sammy Davis Jr. But he was, I think too, Sammy Davis Jr. was very sick at the time.
Sammy had to be what? I guess at that time in the 80s, he had to be in his 60s or 70s,
Probably
easy.
in his 70s, because I think he died in his early 70s from cancer in like either the early 90s, maybe. And that movie's like 87-ish, 88. So yeah. Sammy.
Phenomenal. I can't see him in that role. Like I said, I mean, going back to your question on who my favorite Batman is, it probably would have been Keaton, but for me, you know, Bale is just such a great actor, and I just think that some of the roles that Keaton had skewed my idea of him. Um, I think the Joker is a little bit more difficult for me than Batman. I think Bale to me is, you know, I mean, who else is there?
Heath
Um,
Ledger and Nicholson.
Well, that's it. It's a tough one, man. You got Nicholson, you got Ledger, and you got what's his face?
Cesar Romero.
You got Cesar Romero, and you got Joaquin Phoenix, right?
No, from the other. Oh, Jared Leto. You mean?
Jared Leto, but the Joker, the new one, Phoenix,
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix, who I think was phenomenal.
I think that's a great movie, man, but I don't consider it like a comic book movie either. I don't consider the Joker a comic book movie. It's more about mental health.
I agree with you, but there is an element of it.
I know,
me.
like the end, like they do add in the whole Wayne family stuff in it, but
there's enough in it that to me makes it,
I know what you're saying. Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix, I think might be, and think about it. 2 of the 4 people that have played him in movies have won the Academy Award.
Right. It's a great role. It's a fantastic role, and like you said, you got to have so many ways to play it. Batman's kind of tough, to like really elaborate.
I think I think what's his face. I think Affleck would have been awesome if they let him go a couple of movies. I think he would have been really good in the role. He plays it right. He had the right amount of swagger for it.
I think he's got the physicality and swagger for it. I'm just not a huge fan of him, and I don't think his acting is too great.
It's a comic book movie. You don't need that great of an actor.
Yeah, but it's a deep character. I mean, it's a lot.
Christian Bale. No, Christian Bale is good, but I'll always go Keaton. I mean, he's the first guy that had the iconic line of "I'm Batman." I'm Batman.
He's good. You know who I could have seen as Batman? Baldwin.
Hi.
Alec Baldwin.
Hi.
Like circa 90, 95.
I'm incredibly handsome, and I'm Batman.
Right.
You know who at one point they wanted for Batman? It was going to be Ivan Reitman, I think, at the helm. Bill Murray.
Oh, I couldn't see that.
This is like a mid-'80s, I think, Batman.
Yeah, that would have been bad. That would have been bad. I like Bill a lot. I think he's fantastic, but nah.
He's playing a bad guy in, I think, a Marvel movie now.
Hey, let me ask you this. Maybe when you were on the job, did you ever run into when Bill Murray was bartending in Manhattan or in Queens?
No. We were going to go one night. We were working, and we were just going to, like, sign out early and take lost time, as they call it. Lost time. And Bill Murray's son owns a bar in Williamsburg.
Right.
Now. I think, like, this is going back about 5 years ago. And me and a guy, Brian, who I worked with, he's like, he comes up to me, he goes, I'm on Twitter right now. He goes, Bill Murray's son. He goes, Bill Murray's bartending in Williamsburg. I go, really?
I think it's Greenpoint.
Yeah, it's somewhere. It's in Hipsterville somewhere. So I go, all right, let's go. I said, I was like trying to figure out how I could get out. I figured it out. I could leave. And then I go back on Twitter within 5 minutes. And someone's like, there's a line down the block to get in the bar. He goes, it's over an hour and a half wait right now to get in to meet Bill Murray. I'm like, I'm not standing outside an hour and a half to meet.
I think it's in Brooklyn, man.
Yeah, it is. His son owns some bar in Brooklyn. And every now and then he just buy. And this is the other thing. I heard he doesn't know how to bartend.
No, he makes like a couple of drinks and he pours a beer.
He knows how to make like 2 or 3 drinks. And all he does is like, if he doesn't know what it is, he just hands you a beer. Or he'll just hand you like a shot of whiskey.
In all your years as a cop in Manhattan and, the Bronx and whatever, have you ever seen a situation where such a famous guy was bartending or a celebrity? I think he takes the cake, right? I mean, was there anything that you ever ran into like in the city that
a guy like him behind the bar? Yeah. I've never been I've never like walked in a bar and they're like, oh, so-and-so's bartending.
Right. Like, I kind of remember like some like small time music acts, that kind of deal, like Seduction and stuff, being bartenders at some of the places that I worked at, but never like anything like Murray, on Murray's level.
Yeah, no, I've never seen that.
That would have been cool. That would have been cool.
I'm sure it's cool when you just walk in and like the guy making drinks is, Bill Murray. It's got to be pretty interesting.
That is the fact, Jack. Such a great movie, Stripes, right? Back in the day. What's your favorite Murray movie? What's your favorite Bill Murray movie? So many good ones, right?
Stripes is up there. I do.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day is good. I do like
Um,
Groundhog Day, but I think I'm gonna go Stripes.
yeah, kind of like like 80s Murray. Oh, wait a second. Meatballs.
That was like his big. That's his big main one.
Caddyshack. Right?
Caddy. Do you know like Caddyshack? He they wrote that scene for him with no lines originally. He was supposed to do the whole thing as like what's his face? Harpo Marx, like doesn't talk. One of those deals. And then he just started ad-libbing shit. And he was only supposed to be there for like 3 days. And he wound up staying for like 2 weeks and he just kept writing himself dialogue. Like the whole scene where he's doing Cinderella's story about to become the Masters champion. They said the uncut version of that scene is almost 15 minutes long. And in the movie, it's what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
Yeah. There was I think another movie. I think it was Ghostbusters. We talked about it where I guess they hired him to do the show and they didn't know he was going to show up and he
Oh,
just
yeah.
showed
It's
up.
in that the Netflix documentary,
Right.
The Movies That Made Us, when
He just showed up
Ivan
and they
Reitman's like, yeah, we hired him for Ghostbusters and he's in Paris. And he's like, yeah, I guess I'll do it. When and where? And what was it? Monday morning. They said 8 o'clock. He just showed up as he got off a plane from Paris.
Dude, he's a young guy, man. I mean, he's only 70 years old. I mean, obviously he's old, but he's younger than our parents. And I got to be honest with you, look at him. He looks like he's 90.
He loves to party. The guy used to go when he got divorced. They
He's
said
a wild and crazy guy.
he lived on like the west side, I think down in like the West Village. And what he would do is go on like Craigslist or on like social media. And if someone's like, yo, I'm having this huge party at my house, he would just show up. He's known to do that, just like crash parties, crash weddings. Because he's got another house, I think, in like South Carolina. And they have like, it's known for like, it's very beautiful down there. Like, I think it's in Asheville somewhere.
He's got 6 kids, dude.
What's that?
He's got 6 kids.
Yeah, good for him. He can afford it.
2 wives.
And he just like crashes weddings.
That's our business. And for a long time, it was good.
Yeah.
We crashed weddings.
What?
Fantastic movie, man.
Yeah. Murray. Murray's up there as one of the GOATs, I guess people would say.
He's up there,
I
man.
like him, but
I don't know about stand-up, but
no, it wasn't a stand-up really. It's more just comedic acting. He's up there. Because now he's like one of these guys, like when he shows up in a movie, everyone just freaks out.
I mean, let me pose a real difficult question. Will Ferrell or Bill Murray?
Bill Murray.
Ferrell's up there, man.
I don't know. Ferrell's great. I like, dude, the stuff he does. As a matter, I just saw that commercial. They had the trailer on again for that Lakers thing. And it looks great, man. You were like, wow, Will Ferrell was supposed to play him. And the guy McKay just shut him out, man. He blocked him. He gave him the block. He rejected him.
I like you, but you're crazy, man.
Yeah.
You're crazy. Oh, man. So what's going on in Virginia, man? I guess you're on vacation, huh?
Yeah, just in a timeshare in Virginia. Just
What
counting
part?
the time.
Virginia's such a weird state, dude. Like when I go to visit my relatives,
there's nothing around, man. This is like scary. I'm waiting for people in like animal masks to surround the house.
like eyes wide shut.
Yeah, it's creepy shit, man.
So my experience with Virginia is like it's like 2 different states within a state, and then you got West Virginia, which was part of Virginia, but now it ain't. So West Virginia is like a third world nation. Back in the day, we Boy Scouted there and camped out there, and you got all sorts of coal miners, and it's really depressed over there.
It's like one of the poorest, I think, in the nation.
Places in the United States. Yeah.
Top 3.
Then you got Washington, D.C. area, like Northern Virginia, where I think Joanne's a nephew lives, and my next door neighbor, for those don't know that in Astoria. Alexandria is like a really wealthy,
Oh
wealthy
yeah, yeah.
suburb. It's
Big
like kind of
bucks.
like, rivals like the nicest parts of Long Island or New York. And then you got like down south, like as you get close to the North Carolina border, like parts of like Richmond and like that area. And dude, I don't know if it's maybe like where I drive when I come down to visit my relatives, Mike, but dude, there are times like, listen, I've been in some rough places. We grew up in Queens, like in the 80s and the 70s. Nothing really fazed me. But there are times when I drive down there, like off I-95, and you're going through Richmond, and it's like I go into like a gas station, and it's like looks like a scene out of Deliverance. And you got roving kids, dogs, and shit.
Yo, it's the dirty South, yo.
And I'm looking at my wife, and it's like, all right, lock the doors, don't get out. I'm just gonna fill up the gas tank. We're gonna get back in. We're gonna get back on the highway. Don't say a word. Don't look at anybody. Don't make any eye contact.
And
Tunnel
especially
vision.
you're in a car with New York license plates.
Oh no 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 no. The only thing that kind of saves me is my dome. At some point, these idiots think I guess I'm a Klan member or whatever.
You down for the cause, brother?
Right? They look at me. They're like, "Oh yeah, look at this guy, bald head. He must be one of us." No, shithead, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like that movie. I always harken back to like that old Michael Douglas movie. He goes, "You and me are the same." Yeah, me and you, we're the same. He goes, "No, I am an American. You are a Nazi asshole." And then he shoots him, falling down. Remember?
Yeah, Falling Down, great movie.
But I'm looking at like some of these guys like in the Virginia, like in the Southern Virginia area, and they're like looking at me. I'm like, no, 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 dude. Then you got like in the west part of the state, like if you go down that part, like down I-87, and I remember my wife saying, she's like, "Oh, look, they're very religious people here. There's crosses like on these mountains." I'm like, those aren't like Jesus Christ crosses. Those are Klan crosses.
Those are working crosses.
Those are working crosses, man. That ain't no joke. And then, of course, you got the other shit. You got like the, which always kind of strikes me. Like I'm a history buff, Mike, but it's like you're driving down Virginia. It's like, oh yeah, Jefferson Davis Highway. It's like, wait a second. Jefferson Davis, that guy was the president of the Confederacy. Why do they have a highway named after him or a rest stop named after him? It's like driving through Germany, and it's like being a Jewish guy, and it's like watching Adolf Hitler gas station. It's like
maybe it's named after Jefferson Davis Hogg, aka Boss Hogg. They might have named it after him.
Boss Hogg. But no.
So, anyway, I said we wrap this puppy up.
Yeah, man. Let you get back to the vacation time.
Yeah, let me get back to my vacation. And
that is the fact, Jack. All right, the plugs we got, usual, www.chrisclash.com. Got Jay Cristiano, Cardinal Financial. You can reach out to Jay at 844-442-7334. Extension 4215 is the promo code. Got Mike Powers' place in Wilmington, North Carolina, Celtic Monkey.
Mikey.
Good old Mac buddy of ours. Vladdy's Bistro up on 53 Bruckner Boulevard in the Bronx. Check out good Caribbean fare, wings, good food. Check out my boy Vladdy's place up in the Bronx. Same sort of area, a little bit north of him. We got Eugene's place, Piazza Pizza in Rye, New York, 914-921-4444. And lastly, we got Tommy D's, Tommy Devitt's 5-Star Shopping by Tommy at 917-559-8264 for all your shopping needs. Also check out his place on 36th Avenue, I believe in Astoria. Tommy, don't kill me if I have the avenue wrong. The Mad Donkey in Astoria, New York. Great fare. Good time. Check it out. And we are good on my part, Mike.
All right. My usuals, Jack at I Can Paint on Instagram. Provmatic on Twitch. Check him out playing video games. Pat Dixon, New York City Crime Report, Compound Media. Also, he's got a Locals channel now. Locals is a new app. You're basically creating your own channel, own content. Pat has his own now. He's got episodes of New York City Crime Report, as well as several other shows, one of which I'm involved in, Notorious NYC, True Crime Podcast. It's only about a half hour, 40-minute long episodes where we go through famous crimes in New York City throughout the years. Second episode should be coming out soon. And go to my Instagram page, Mike O'Sully Jokes. You can check out all my tweets that I post and any dates I got coming up. There should be some stuff coming up this week. Other than that, we will see you when we see you.
One last thing, Mike. The second largest podcast in the country right now is a true crime podcast. I don't know if you've heard about it. So it's Joe Rogan is number one, but the number two is like some sort of strange tales and true crimes. Have you heard about it?
Yeah. And there's also there used to be the big one called Serial. That was a big one for a while, where they would just take like one crime and break it down to like 30 episodes.
I got to check it out. I obviously got to check some of your stuff out too. You know, it seems pretty cool. But listen, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. You know, we appreciate the likes, the subscriptions. Keep it plugging. Spread the word.
Yep. Like, subscribe, share, tell everybody. We love yous.
Tell your friends. Tell your friends.
We'll see you next week. Bye.